everyone, welcome to my channel. Today is Finding Inspiration Friday, where one Friday a month I show you something that inspired me for a coloring page. I'm pulling colors and even other elements from that inspiration that you can use for any coloring page. It's the end of March and I'm a little late in the month for Mardi Gras, which was in the first part of the month, but I'm still going to use it as an inspiration for my page. And after loving coloring in Tales from the Forest Kingdom by Hanna Karlzon, which was my first Hanna Karlzon book, I was really excited to purchase another one, and so I purchased Tales from the Midnight Masquerade. And when looking through this book, my mind instantly went to New Orleans, Mardi Gras, and carnivals. Using bright, bold colors and lots of shine and sparkle is my plan for this book. So I'm going to be doing this page here, and I'm going to put my inspiration here on this side. I searched Mardi Gras illustrations on Pinterest and found this image. So Mardi Gras colors are purple, green, and gold. Purple represents justice, green represents faith, and gold represents power. So these will all be represented in my page. But I also really love this bright orange background, and the black and white checkerboard pattern I think will be a really cool effect for the background. And just something different that I haven't done before. I'm going to keep the face white and then shadow with light blues and purples like in the illustration. And then really add these bright pops of fuchsia, teal, and purple for the makeup. All right, so here's a look at the colors that I'll be using and supplies. So I'm going to be using a base of water-based markers. So these are like your Tombows, Crayola Supertips, and then I also have some Artist Loft in there. This is going to help create that kind of just a bright, bold, intense color to begin with. And then I'll shadow and shade with color pencils, and that will help create depth in those colors. So here I'm using mostly Prisma colors. I do have a few Polychromos in there, but you obviously just use what you got. All right, and then some other supplies I'll be using for sparkle and shine. This is CSY Art Gallery Mini Tin Box, handmade watercolors, and they're just metallic glittery watercolors. So I'll be using the gold, which gives a really pretty shimmer. And then for extra gold sparkle, I'll be using this Stickles. This will give more of a chunky gold sparkle look. And then just for more sparkly colors, I'm going to be using some gel pens. And I have a green and a black sparkly gel pen. Okay, other things I might use, I will go over when I'm using them. All right, everyone, that's enough talking. Let's get coloring. Alrighty, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. And like most of my videos, I do a combination of real-time coloring, speed coloring, and I also color off camera when it gets too repetitive, but not to worry, I always explain what I'm doing. I'm going to start with the yellow marker. This will be the base for all my gold elements, like the rope, the tassels, stars, buttons, and majority of the crown. I will do some of this for you on camera, but I'll finish it off camera. All these swirls and things mess with my eyes, so I need to get my face a little closer to see what I'm doing. The good thing is that I don't have to have perfect coverage. I'll be going over with color pencil and I can get into those tighter spaces to fill up any bare spots. Okay, the yellow is done and it is definitely bright, but not to worry because it will tone down after color pencil shading. The rest of the mask, I will be using this teal color and just getting into all these little shapes here inside the mask and around the eyes. Moving on to the hair, which will be my purple, I'm just doing these smaller pieces around the frame of her head. The longer pieces that go off to the side, I'm making those my red-orange color. This could be all hair, or it could be two-toned hair, or it could just be another element. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I've seen it multiple ways, but I wanted this color to be close to the face. Okay, next is this big layered bow, which will be in a bright lime green. You will notice some marker lines as I cover it. I try to keep them flowing in the direction of the bow, but again, color pencils will help camouflage any imperfections. And the last marker I'm using is this kind of bright fuchsia color. This is going to be her shirt. Now for the color pencils, I usually choose 2 to 3 shades, like a light, a medium, and a dark of that color. For the hair, I'm going to use more of a graphic style look, so I don't need to get the hair super detailed with texture. I'm going to start with the darker shade of purple, and I'm just going to add it where I want those shadows and low parts. Feather it out as I get to where I want the highlight. And then I'm going to lay the medium shade over that, and then again kind of feathering it towards the highlight area. And then I'll use the lightest color as my highlight, blend that over all of the colors and make it smooth and kind of get rid of some of those white little dots that happen with color pencil. Just making sure all the area is smooth and blended. I do go over it with either the medium or the darker shade again, just to bring out some of those darker low spots. It's just kind of a preference. You might have to go back and forth several times till you get it just right. These big gems are going to be in the teal shade. I'm going to start with the darkest around the edges, a little heavier and thicker at the bottom of the circle. And then I'll work the medium shade into the circle, and finally the lightest shade to highlight the upper middle part of that circle. And then using that dark teal again to go over around the top and side edges of these little shapes inside here. I want this teal color to look like it's kind of sitting down a little bit below the gold parts, so giving it more of a drop shadow effect. Okay, and then blending it out with the medium teal. And any highlight areas, I'll use that lighter shade. Okay, on to this big bow. I never feel like I can do shadows and good shading when it comes to fabric, so I tend to look at what others do and try to use some of those as reference. Again, using a dark, medium, and light for the shading, and I end up not being really happy with the dark shade here, so I will find a darker green, which is much better and gives more contrast. So you might wonder, why go through all the trouble of doing the first step with marker if you just cover it up with color pencils? Well, let's look at the bow. So this is such a big object, and it would take so many layers of color pencils to get the intensity of color. Yes, it can be done, but it would just take a lot longer. It's kind of a cheater way, but the results end up being so good. It's not for all looks, but it definitely helps when you need that color intensity. I like to use alcohol markers too, but I didn't want any bleed through on this paper, so these water-based markers work great too. All right, continuing the shading technique with the dark, medium, and light shade of the fuchsia. And I'm just really concentrating that darker part under these big loops of the bow. And you guessed it, I'm using a dark, a medium, and a light for this orange part too. Looking at the way these lines are and then figuring out where the highs and lows are. And then because this is such a dark color already, there won't be much contrast with the highs and lows. So this color was not in my color chart in the beginning. It is a Polychromo 193, and this is going to be the darkest part. So following along the edge of the face, just to give that a little bit more depth. And then using Prismacolor 1036, this is like a fluorescent orange, just to help with those highlights. On to the gold elements. I like to use a dark kind of brownish green as my shadow color, and then more of a orangey yellow as my midtone, and then a yellow for the lightest highlight part. Starting with the dark first, working to the highlight to blend it all out. Some areas in the crown can be really dark to give more depth in between all those little medallion areas. It's just personal preference on how much shadow and tarnish you want. Okay, the color pencil shading definitely toned down the brightness of the yellow. I really like the crown and seeing all the depth of the elements. It doesn't look so flat anymore. Moving on to the eyes and face, which probably makes me the most nervous. My hands were sweating so bad during these parts because I feel like it's harder to fix mistakes on the face. And there's just a little bit more pressure. All right, so anyway, using a black marker to fill in the pupils, I'll add a white highlight at the end. All right, and her eyes are going to be purple, so I'm just doing a dark purple, medium purple, and then my highlight is going to be a light blue, and then just adding a little bit of pink inside there too for some color variation. My light blue is also going to be my shadow for white areas, so inside the whites of the eyes. Her lips are going to be that bright kind of fuchsia pink color, so just giving a base layer of light pink, filling in the darkest areas around the corners of the mouth, blending a little bit more of a medium shade, and then keeping the very center of the lips the highlight. And just gonna have to play back and forth till I get that color intensity that I'm looking for. And there's a lot of debris on her face from the color pencils, so I'm just taking my electric eraser, or you can even use a regular eraser to clean that up. All right, I'm gonna give her some dark teal eyeliner and feather it out for the eyeshadow, and then work in that medium teal color into the crease and under the eye. The lighter shade of teal will kind of help blend all that out. And just adding a little hot pink under the eye and lavender to help bring some shadows and depth. And the light blue will kind of help smooth and blend that out. For the face, I'm going to be building really light layers of where I want the shadows and the contouring on the face. Okay, now I can go in with those darker, brighter, intense colors and start building up those cheek colors. Trying to keep them even, but as I'm watching this on the video, I'm not really happy with the left cheek, so afterwards I may have to go and fix that up. To help with blending and softening that color, I use light blue and also white to kind of help blend that in. Okay, now I'm taking a marker, a black marker that has a nice brush, and I'm going to darken around the eyeliner and the lashes. The background is going to be my checkerboard pattern. I'm taking a pencil and I draw in my lines. And instead of doing horizontal and then vertical lines to create that checkerboard, I'm going to do my first lines, I'll call them my A lines, and I'm going to use the contour of the rope frame. So I'm going to space out my lines about a pencil width apart. And then my next lines that are going to cross over those first lines, I'll call those the B lines. They're going to be radiating from the center point. So going more at an angle in the corners and then kind of straight up and down at the top and bottom. Again, still spacing them about a pencil width apart. I'm also not a perfectionist, so I really don't stress about each square being perfect or the lines being perfectly straight. I kind of like the fact that there is some variances throughout. It makes it look wavy or has some movement to it. All right, now I'm taking my black brush pen and I'm just going to start filling in those squares. Okay, here is the completed checkerboard background. It is definitely an eye catcher. I'm going to take my light blue and just add a bit of shadow around the edges of the rope and even in some of the white squares along the sides. My final touches are the fun part, adding shine and sparkle. I'm not one to add a lot of sparkle to my pages, but in this case it just calls for it. This is CSY Art Gallery. It's a metallic watercolor and I'll use a water brush and I'll just go over everything that is the gold color. All right, so I'll pick this up and kind of move it around so you can see the difference between the two halves. So the one on the left is the one that I did, and it definitely adds that kind of bright shimmery effect. Okay, and then here is all of it complete. So lots of shine, and then I did the rope, the buttons, and inside the stars. All right, next I'm going to be using the gel pens, and I think I had a black one in my list, but I'm going to take that one out and I'm just going to be using a green and a purple. And then I also have another black fine liner just for any other little details that I need to do, maybe in the eyes. And then also a white Posca for the gem highlights and her eye highlights. All right, I'm taking the purple sparkly gel pen and I'm just gonna go over the black lines, and this will just help give her some nice sparkly highlights for her hair. All right, this is a sparkly green gel pen, so I'm gonna get into some of these little shapes here, just kind of outlining around and around the gems. Again, this will just give it a nice little kind of sparkle highlight. All right, now I'm using the gold Stickles, and this will give more of a chunky gold glitter effect. And I'm just putting it on most of the little like circle dots around, and also adding a little sparkle on some of the block lines inside of the crown. Okay, so here is a closer look. If you can, I'll move it around so hopefully you can see all that shiny goodness. All right, final thoughts on my page. I really like the checkerboard pattern in the background. It's completely different than anything I've done before. I'm just not sure if it's too hard on the eyes. So I'm trying to decide if I should frame the outside edges black. The solid will help break up all that pattern. I'm using paper right now just to give me an idea, but I would fill in with black marker. I'm going to live with it for a while and see. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Should I leave it like it is or should I frame it? All right, here is my inspiration image again. I think I captured the colors and the elements that I wanted to. I don't have as much purple, but that's okay. I think the orange really helps frame her face and makes that green bow pop. Okay, everyone, that is it for this video. I hope this helps you find inspiration in your everyday for your coloring pages. Happy coloring!